Hello students, welcome to the class. In my previous video on this chapter, A Letter to God, I'd explained you the story. In this video, I'm going to explain you about the title of the story, like how appropriate is the title of the story, the theme, what is the theme of the story, the irony that is there in the story, and the conflict that is there in the story. So let us take up the first topic, that is the title of the story. Let's justify the title of the story, A Letter to God. These points will help you write your answer. Revolves around Lencho's letter to God. Finding himself in dire situation, writes a letter, demands 100 pesos. The letter draws postmaster's attention, collects money, sends to Lencho. Lencho gets angry on receiving the money, writes another letter. Now, let me explain you in detail. The whole story revolves around Lencho's letter to God. Lencho, finding himself in dire situation, writes a letter to God in all his innocence. He demands for 100 pesos from God. The letter addressed to God draws the attention of the postmaster. Lencho's firm faith in God motivates the postmaster to do something for him. So, to preserve Lencho's faith in God, he collects money. But he could collect only 70 pesos. He puts the money in an envelope, writes a letter containing only a single word, God. This is just to make it seem like a reply from God. On receiving the letter, Lencho was very angry because he feels that God must have sent 100 pesos, but the post office employees have cheated him. So he writes another letter asking God to send the rest of the money, but this time not through the mail. Thus we see that the whole story revolves around Lencho's letter to God. Now let us take up the second topic, that is the theme of the story. First, the points: significance of faith, Lencho's firm faith in God. When positive, something good comes out of it, faith can move mountains. Now, let me explain you the theme in detail. The story, A Letter to God, highlights the immense power in man's innocent faith in God. It teaches us that if man has firm faith in God, he can accomplish anything. God responds through his own peculiar channels and fulfills man's urgent, legitimate desire. It's very important. Legitimate desire. When we are positive about something good comes out of it. Lencho puts his faith in God. When his crops are perished, he is sad and miserable. He is left with nothing. In this dire situation, he turns to God. He writes a letter to God asking for 100 pesos to sow his field again and to live until the other crop comes. Lencho's firm faith in God makes the postmaster resolve to help him. So, the postmaster collects money and sends the money to Lencho. Thus, Lencho's childlike faith in God is rewarded. God helped Lencho through the postmaster. Thus, we can say that faith can move mountains. Like this sums up the theme of the story, that faith can move mountains. Now the third topic, that is, what is the irony in the story. First, the points: post office employees collected money, act of kindness and selflessness. Lencho, unaware of the reality, calls them a bunch of crooks. The postmaster never expected such a response. Now I'll explain you in detail. The post office employees collected money to help Lencho. It was an act of kindness and selflessness on their part. Even though they did a good deed, Lencho blamed them. He blamed them for taking away some amount of money. So we see that the act of charity was not recognized and appreciated by the man who received the help. On the contrary, what he did? On the contrary, the helpers were ironically called a bunch of crooks. Okay, and on the other hand, the postmaster who was moved by the letter, who was impressed by Lencho's letter and tried to preserve his faith, never expected such a response. So the postmaster who was moved by the innocence of the farmer never expected such a response. Now the fourth topic, that is the conflict that is there in the story. The writer has presented two different types of conflict. The first conflict is between man and nature, and the second conflict between humans themselves. So let us take up the first one first. Okay, in the beginning of the story, the farmer hopes for a rain shower to nourish his cornfields. On receiving rain, he becomes overjoyed, but his joy turned into sorrow when the wind becomes strong, leading to a hailstorm, which destroyed his fields. So, the conflict between man and nature is shown by the destruction of Lencho's cornfield, by the hailstorm. Now let us take up the next one, that is conflict between humans and humans themselves. Lencho doubts the honesty of the post office employees who actually helped him with the money. They were not related to Lencho in any manner. It was just an act of kindness and selflessness on their part. But Lencho, he blamed them for taking some amount of money. This shows the conflict between humans themselves. Man does not have faith in his fellow human beings. Like here, Lencho, he believed in the existence of God, but he did not have trust in the post office employees. The first letter that Lencho writes to God shows his faith in God, but the second letter shows his lack of trust in fellow human beings. So I hope you have understood all the 4 topics related to the chapter. Okay, so we end the class here. Thank you.